Hey, today we're going to make a healthy-ish version of the traditional chocolate banana bread. This recipe cuts down on the fat, on the refined sugar, and ups the fiber content. So without much ado, let's take a look at the recipe. So in a small bowl, I have 3 tablespoons of ground flaxseed powder. I'm using golden flaxseed. To that, I'm adding 9 tablespoons of warm water. If you use all-purpose flour for this recipe, you can just use 6 tablespoons instead of the 9 tablespoons of warm water. Just mix that up and set it aside. In another bowl, I have 3 large bananas. The riper the bananas, the sweeter the banana bread will be. I'm going to peel them up and mash them with a masher. And as an optional step, I'm adding 1 or 2 tablespoons of sour cream. And I'm using half a cup of olive oil, but any vegetable oil or light oil will do. To this, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/3 of a cup of maple syrup. If you want the banana bread to be sweeter, you can use 1/2 of a cup here. And mix everything together. And actually, I forgot to add my flaxseed powder to the wet ingredients, but I'll add that later. Now for our dry ingredients, I'm taking 1 3/4 cups of whole wheat flour. To that, I'm adding 1/4 of a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. I'm using a sifter here or sieve to sift the cocoa powder because it tends to be lumpy. Make sure you do that. Next, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and I also like to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of cardamom powder. And I'm going to mix everything together. Next, I'm adding 3/4 of a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chip to our dry ingredients. Now, semi-sweet chocolate chip does have refined sugar, but that much is okay for me. You can feel free to substitute that with walnuts or something else to make it even healthier. Now, I'm going to add my wet ingredients to my dry and mix that gently. You don't want to overmix it, otherwise the banana bread might turn out to be a little stiff. And here I'm adding the flaxseed powder that I forgot earlier to add to my wet ingredients. So I'm going to mix everything together very well. And here I have a bread pan that I'm lightly spraying with some oil spray, and I'm using a parchment paper on top. And what I'm going to do is cut out small pieces, squares from the 4 sides, and then put the parchment paper in. This is not going to be perfect, but it gets the job done, and it makes it real easy to take out the banana bread later when it's cooked. So once that's done, I'm going to put in my batter into my pan. And meanwhile, I have the oven preheating at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to pour in my batter into my bread pan and make sure that it's evenly spread out. You want to make sure that the edges are filled in equally. Now this goes in the oven. Well, before that, if you want, you can add a little bit more chocolate chips on top. I'm doing that here, and once I do that, I'm going to press it lightly with a spatula. Now this goes in the oven preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about an hour. So depending on your oven and your pan, I'm using a glass pan here. You might want to check this at 50 to 55 minutes. And when it's done, a toothpick inserted comes out clean. I'm also double checking this with a skewer, and that came out clean as well. So I let that sit and cool down for a few minutes, like 10-15 minutes before trying to take it out of the pan, and it comes out, as you can see here, very easily. And voila, this is your wonderful double chocolate banana bread recipe. As always, say a little prayer and spread the love, and I'll see you in the next video.